Good morning, everyone. Just a quick note. I couldn't find my Northampton hat. I had to use this little tag here to let you know I was on the Northampton. Today's story is going to be about the USS Northampton and my time on board from 1962 until 1966. When I went aboard the Northampton, she was a heavy cruiser. She was constructed during World War II and then stopped, and in 1951 constructed completion as an experimental task fleet command ship. One of the distinguishing features is a 125-foot tall mast on the bow for communications antenna. We called it the pig stick. And every year we rigged up a ring of 27 strings of Christmas lights on it. And every year we won the Christmas Decoration Award. That was back during the old Navy when you could do such things as that. She was built one deck higher than the other heavy cruisers, and she only had 5-inch guns, not the usual 8-inch guns that a heavy cruiser has. She had 4 main engines, 4 boilers, and could go about 30 knots. And she was converted to the President's command ship. And in 1962, in March, President Kennedy came on board. I didn't come on board until August, so I missed the president. When I came on board, I was a 1 hash mark Chief Petty Officer, E7, meaning I had served less than 8 years, so only had 1 hash mark. I was just a little over 25 years old when I reported on board. I saluted the flag and then saluted the officer of the deck, who was an old Chief Petty Officer with about 19 hash marks on his side, gold. And he looked at me and he said, "Who in the blankety blank are you? A 1 hash mark chief? I never saw such a thing." I said, "I'm Chief Petty Officer Anderson, reporting for duty, sir." And he said, "A blame teenage chief." That nickname stuck. My duties in Northampton as chief in charge of the interior communication electricians, I had 33 men in our section of the electrical division. Our duties included maintenance and repair of the ship's control instruments, 2 armored gyro compasses, automatic telephone system. We had what they called a 600 line system, an old-timey finder, selector, connector, rotary telephone system. Our other IC systems included things like the underwater log, which measures the ship's speed through the water, the wind direction and speed system, the propeller shaft speed and direction, the engine order telegraph, engine revolution transmitter, rudder angle indicators, numerous communication consoles for combat information systems, the PA systems and the phone systems. We had what they call sound-powered telephones, meaning you didn't have to have any batteries. So if the ship lost power, the phones still worked. We had salinity indicators to measure the amount of salt in the ship's boiler water and the drinking water. The gyro compass, the speed, wind, and direction of ship's speed were vital to determine the input to the weapon systems to ensure the bullets went where the CO wanted them to go. I have many sea stories about these systems, but more on those later. In 30 September 1962, Karen was born at the Portsmouth Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia. What an adventure that was. I had a duty when the Northampton came in, and I called Dixie and asked her how she was doing, and she said she was okay. Didn't think she would have the baby for a few days. About midnight, I received a call. I had to come home and take her to the hospital. I made arrangements for our next-door neighbor to come pick me up at the ship, and we rushed home, and I put Dixie in our little red Corvair car, and I immediately noted the generator light didn't go off, meaning that the fan belt was broken. I went back to my friend and asked him if to drive us to the hospital. When we arrived at the hospital, I was told to take Dixie home, that she was not going to have that baby today. I get her back home, put her in the house, put a new fan belt on the car, go back inside, and Dixie says, "I have to go to the hospital." And off we go, only to be told by the nurse, she's not going to have that baby today. I tell the nurse, "I'm not taking her back. We'll stay here in the lobby if we have to." So they put her in the hospital, told me to go home as she was not going to have that baby today. This is about 1 a.m. in the morning now. I went home, picked up David from the neighbor, set my alarm for 6 o'clock, woke up and called the hospital. Congratulations, Mr. Anderson. You have a new baby girl born this morning about 4 o'clock. A beautiful blonde baby girl. A couple of days later, David and I went to the hospital to get Dixie and Karen, and Dixie met us with Karen at the elevator. And because of this, David always said we got Karen out of the alligator. In 1965, machinist mate Pappy Green reported on board. Pappy was a machinist mate E7. He was born in 1900. Yes, 1900. That made him 65 years old, the oldest man on board. I was about 29 years old at this time, and we were fascinated by the sea stories that Pappy told us. For example, he was on board the USS New York, battleship 34, when the first radar was installed on a Navy ship. One evening, Pappy was telling us that the Navy ran 7 destroyers aground in one evening. We all said, Pappy, that's the biggest sea story we ever heard. Pappy jumped up and ran to his locker room, came back again with a handful of official Navy photographs showing the disaster. 7 ships did run aground. 1923, a very interesting story. Tragedy at Point Honda. In October of 1962, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis. You may have seen the movie 13 Days in October. Since the Northampton was the president's command ship, we had to be close to the president at all times in case of a national emergency. We were assigned to stay in the Chesapeake Bay. Each evening we would anchor near Quantico so as to be within helicopter range of the White House. And every morning we'd get underway and steam down to Windmill Point and send the helicopter over to get the mail and the movies. We did that for 28 days during the crises. We did come into Port Norfolk 2 times, let half the crew off on Liberty, and next day we came in and let the other half off. I think we were the only ship in the Atlantic Fleet that had any liberty during that time. Since we were in inland waters, we were not permitted to dump trash into the bay. So we burned everything that was burnable, and we had a garbage grinder for the waste food. However, we had a bunch of tin cans that were accumulating on the fantail. Can you imagine? We had to feed over 1,000 sailors every day. That's a lot of tin cans. We had an old chief cook on board. He told the executive officer during World War II we had to flatten the cans out and toss them overboard. So every night we would squish the cans flat and dump them in the water. We didn't tell anybody. Since we were at sea for such a long time, the XO wanted to entertain the crew, so he suggested that we have a bugle contest. Navy ships such as cruisers and battleships always had a bugler on board to sound the general alarm, announce the Liberty Call, breakfast, sweepers man your broom, taps, etc. We had a contest one Saturday. 10 bugle calls were announced over the ship's PA system. That's another thing the IC electricians take care of. The old chief cook was the only one to get all 10 correct, and he won the prize. A young seaman was given an honorable mention, as he said he thought all the calls was Liberty Call. The prize was a $10 gift certificate in the ship's store. Our engineering officer was G.G. Gullickson, a big red-headed Swede with large red eyebrows. And he asked me one day, did I want to become a warrant officer? I said, yes, sir. He said, get down in the boiler room and the engine room and complete this cruiser and destroyer engineering officer course, and I'll see to it that you make warrant officer. I spent all my time in the spare time in the boiler and engine room, learning how to light the fires in the boilers, how to open and close valves to cross-connect the steam systems, operate the distilling plants, start up the turbo generators and main engines. I completed the course, and on 1 March 1966, I was promoted to Warrant Officer Electrical. Electrical officer responsible for all the maintenance and repair of electrical equipment such as generators, switchboards, motors, transformers, lights, reefers, outlets, and of course the interior communication systems. The electrical officer reports to the chief engineer, and supervises all of the electrical division personnel. In 2003, we had the 50th anniversary reunion of the USS Northampton CC-1 in the city of Northampton, Massachusetts. We also had sailors from the first Northampton CA-26, which was sunk during World War II off of Guadalcanal. One of the sailors on the 26th was Sherman E. Sail Easy Walgreen. Another sailor was Dempsey. I was talking to Dempsey one day, and I said to him, I said, "So you were on the Northampton when she went down?" He said, "No, Sonny, I wasn't on there when she went down. I got off before she went down." Yeah. We had a parade at the 5-state Big E Fair. 5 states from the New England area have a big celebration each year. We rented a double-decker bus to haul those that could not march around the fairgrounds, and those that could walk marched around the fairground with a truck pulling the ship's bell. The Northampton bell is a huge thing, about 500 pounds, mounted on a 4-wheel trailer. Thousands of people waved as we marched around the fair, pulling the bell along with a long lanyard, ringing it as we marched along, and letting the little kids come out and pull the lanyard and ring the bell. Sail Easy Walden would recite the Flanders Field poem. He was given the title of Poet Laureate of the Northampton. We had a wonderful opportunity to help dedicate a monument to the Northampton CA-26 and the CLC-1 CC-1 in the Agawam, Massachusetts Veterans Memorial Cemetery. The poem goes like this: "In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place in the sky, the lark still bravely singing fly, scarce heard the guns below. We are the dead short days ago. We lived and felt dawn and saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders field. Take up the quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours, hold it high. If you break faith with those who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders field." John McRae was a poet and physician from Ontario, and he developed an interest in poetry at a young age and wrote throughout his life, published in the mid-1890s in Canadian magazines and newspapers. In March 1966 to May 1966, I was sent to the Naval Station Newport, Rhode Island for warrant officer training. Upon completion, I was stationed at the USS LaSalle LPD-3 as the electrical officer. It's interesting that I only had to walk across the pier from the Northampton to the LaSalle to change duty stations. That was a walk of about 50 feet. Well, thanks for the update today. This concludes my update for today. God bless you and your family. Don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Tell your friends and family. God bless you. I'm asking the Lord to protect you from the virus. I apologize for not having my Northampton hat on. I couldn't find it, but I put the next best thing here, Miss Dixie's hat. God bless you, and farewell, my friend.